Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by our friends at Harry's, creators of some of the finest men's grooming products out there. How good is Harry's? Well, Harry's sponsored us like 3 years ago, got me hooked on it like phonics, and when they stopped sponsoring us, I kept buying and using Harry's razors, blades, and skincare products. And today, because it's the holiday season, it's that gift-giving time for your men in your family, honestly, your brother, your husband, your father, your son. Harry's has the gift pack for you, and it is very, very affordable. I love Harry's because their products are high quality and affordable. The razor business, like the drugstore razor business, is a total scam. They have been driving up prices for years, and Harry's agreed. That's why they control the supply chain from start to you. And their new starter set comes with all the goodies. You've got the weighted razor handle, the blades, the travel cover, and the shaving cream with aloe to keep your skin very soft. Normally for 13 bucks, and they are hooking you up $3. Harrys.com/TST, and you can get hooked on Harry's like I did for just $3. I know I haven't shaved in a couple days. I'm going out of town tomorrow, and I'm going to do the full Harry's when I get home tonight, right? That's where I buzz it, and then I shave in the shower with the Harry's. It is so money, and you can get on this train for only $3. So head over to harrys.com/TST or click the link in the description of this video and get the whole starter set, the weighted handle, the blades, the travel cover, and the shaving cream for just $3. Where are you going to find a deal like that? I don't know. Only through us and our friends at Harry's. So enjoy today's video. And be sure to check out Harry's gift sets for the holidays.
Of course, one of the big topics with an electric vehicle, and one that many of you will be commenting, is what if I want to drive this car 1,000 miles? And that's going to bring us to what I think is the biggest problem with the Volkswagen ID.4. Hello everyone, and welcome to Volkswagen's first big foray into the EV market. This is the ID.4 Pro rear-wheel drive only model. Now, this car is not a speed machine like the Teslas. It's not meant to make a statement when you pull up to the curb like a Tesla or maybe a Rivian, Taycan, something like that. This is a car for people that shop based on price, space, feature list, and maybe color, although they don't offer very many of those with this car. The target market for this was the RAV4 and the Honda CR-V. And it's actually been designed and engineered within inches of those cars, inside and out. This is for normal people that want a car that works, and now they want to dip their toe into electric vehicles. The question is, does it succeed in being a car for those people? That's what we're going to get to today. So we're going to take you through the specs and things first. We'll go for a drive a little later, and then we're going to talk about the price. There are two trim levels available in the ID.4. There is the Pro and the Pro S. The Pro has 200 horsepower. It comes standard with driver assistance stuff, a 10-inch nav screen, heated seats. This one has the optional 12-inch nav screen. If you get the Pro S, S stands for statement, which is the only real statement this car makes, in my opinion. For that, you get a panoramic roof, a 12-inch nav screen, 12-way adjustable seats. You can get massage function, a powered tailgate, etc., etc. That car starts at $45,000. This one starts at $39,995. And then you can get all-wheel drive in either one, which adds a front motor with about 107 horsepower. As it stands right now, this is a rear-wheel drive EV that makes about 200 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque. It's less power than the Tesla, of course. It's less power than the Mach-E. We're gonna get to that later. Range is pretty high. It's not class leading. It's 260 miles according to the EPA, below the Tesla Model Y, but a little bit more than the Mach-E. 0 to 60 is 7.6 seconds, and it runs a quarter in the 16s. That 0 to 60 time is 2 to 3 seconds slower than the base Mach-E. It's also slower than a regular 200 horsepower RAV4. The reason is because this car weighs 4,700 pounds, which is a couple hundred pounds heavier than the Tesla Model Y, which also has more range and more power and two motors. It's also 1,000 pounds more than a RAV4. Yes, there are RAV4s with hybrids. Right now I'm trying to concentrate on the base engine RAV4 because those line up price-wise more with this base Volkswagen ID.4. Now let's talk about how it drives, and that's going to start with putting it into drive, of course, which you do by rotating this knob, which is fine, except it's behind the steering wheel. And the reason that's a problem is, one, it's kind of hard to see, but the real reason I don't like it is because this car doesn't have a lot of regen braking unless you put it into B mode for braking mode. And you can only do that by rotating this knob forward. But there's something in my brain, and I don't know, put a comment below if this is how you work as well, but it's the whole out of sight, out of mind. So because that controller is behind the wheel, I don't really think about it very much. So I haven't found myself putting it in B to use the regenerative braking very often. So now we're driving. A lot of electric cars have one pedal driving. This does not. This has two modes. You have drive, which I'm in right now. You lift off the brake and it just coasts. Because what Volkswagen wanted to do is try to make this car as close to the gas car that their customers would be coming out of. And most people are used to driving and they let off the gas and the car just coasts until they hit the brakes, right? So it's familiar. You can also put it in B mode, which stands for brake or braking or something like that. And then when you lift off, it slows down. See if it'll stop for this crosswalk. Just about. But it won't come to a full stop. Okay, thank you, sir. It will not come to a full stop, which the Model Y and other cars will. So you still need to use a little bit of the brake. It will regenerate the battery a little bit, but you also have to be on top of the brake pedal. The ride is smooth. It's quiet, as you'd expect. You know, it's torquey. Like, these are all qualities one would expect from an electric vehicle. I found the suspension setup, which is like a multi-link, you know, whatever. It's nothing fancy. There's no air suspension, but I found it to be good. I've driven this car a couple hundred miles. It rides nice on the freeway. It's pretty quiet over LA's terrible roads. No real issues with it. Steering is super light. Steering ratio is like 3.5 turns to lock. What is awesome is that the turning radius of this car is great. It's like 33.8 feet or something. The turning radius is better than the Mach-E. It's also better than a BMW M240. I mean, it is really, really good. Seating position is good. I have lots of visibility. This curved door helps a little bit with that. It's very spacious in here. The interior is kind of an exercise in minimalism. You know, there's just the screen and the little screen here and a few little buttons and cubbies, but there's not a lot of switches or anything like you'd get in, I don't know, a Panamera Taycan or even the Hyundai Nexo, which had like that piano down the center. So you have a ton of space. And again, if you look at the numbers, you can see who Volkswagen wants to compete with. The interior of this car, in terms of volume, is so close to the Mach-E. In the back, it is down to points of an inch in terms of shoulder room, leg room, etc. This has a tiny bit more room in most of those aspects. It has 1 more inch of headroom in the front than the Mach-E. But both of them have plenty of room for anybody of just about any size until you hit like 6'8", something like that. All right, now that we're stopped, we're gonna talk about the interior because I wanna gesture and touch different things. This car comes with CarPlay, comes with heated seats, a heated steering wheel. If you wanna get massage seats or 12-way adjustable seats, you can spend a little bit more money, get a different package. This has the optional 12-inch display, which is very clear. It's also very spacious in here. I mean, I have lots of shoulder room. There's lots of rear leg room. The back seats are nicely contoured. They have like lumbar, or not lumbar, they have a little bit of side bolstering to them, which I dig. And it has a huge trunk. Part of the benefit of having a roof that doesn't slope aggressively to make some sort of SUV coupe is that you have a lot of space. So there's a big trunk in the back, nice load height, etc., etc. Just about everything in here is controlled by either capacitive or haptic feedback buttons. Capacitive meaning you just touch them gently, but there's no vibration that responding to your touch. Haptic meaning there is that vibration. So on the steering wheel, most of these controls have haptic feedback. I've found them to be a little better than the Golf R I drove a couple of months ago on Haggerty's show. They react to a light touch, but not a gentle brush, which is good. So you can be a little bit more precise. You don't accidentally hit different buttons. And what they've tried to do is put all of the controls for all the systems either into the touchscreen or a few of these, capacitive haptic touch buttons down here for the HVAC, etc., etc. Okay, I understand it puts all the systems in one thing. It probably saves them some money. It looks very slick and clean in here, but the execution and the operation of them is not perfect. For example, if you want to turn on the heated seat, you can either go into the climate menu and do that. Down here, you hit Klima and type it and hit the button, or you can double tap the temperature control button here, and you double tap it again, and it goes down, and that adjusts it. However, right there, I didn't hit it perfectly, so it didn't turn down to the temperature I wanted. If it was a normal button where I just press, it'd be more accurate. I would know that I had activated it correctly. It's just a better system. I'm gonna do that again, so now it's gone. The screen has also been slow to respond, and I'll show you this footage right now. There are times where it says this function will return soon. There's been times where I have to wait a few seconds for the screen to load. It's just not that responsive. And of course, there's no scrolling knob. So if I want to change the temperature, by 15 degrees, I can either sit here and tap this red button, which is responsive about 70% of the time, or I can slide my finger from the blue to the red side. They also did something really weird with the window switches. Why would you try to reinvent the window switch? I don't know. There are 4 windows in this car, right? 4 automatic windows. Do you know how many switches there are on this side? 2. There are only 2. So if I hit the button, it rolls down the front window. If I want to roll down the back window, I have to hit this capacitive touch button that says rear, and now I can roll down the rear window. The problem is, sometimes if you tap it too quick, it doesn't respond. So now I'm still controlling the rear window, even though I want to control my front window. It does have a cool thing where if I hold my hand on there, I can roll down all the windows at once. That's a cool little trick, but I have spent so much time trying to roll down the back windows for my dog when he's in the car and not getting the rear windows activated correctly. And then I'm spending more time looking at this switch than looking out the windshield where all the cars are and the people. And I just don't understand why they did this. It probably saved them a little bit of money. It looks cool. I think when you show it to people, it presents nicely, kind of like the future. But in practice, not great. Now, one of the biggest questions that comes up with electric vehicles is range and road trips. What's the charging network like? How far can you go, etc., etc. This has a 260-mile range. If you get the all-wheel drive motor, you get a little bit more range out of it, not a ton. So charging is the real question, right? Volkswagen is a big part of Electrify America. Part of the deal when they got in trouble for Dieselgate is they said they would build some electric charging infrastructure. So they are involved with Electrify America. As such, when you plot a road trip using the navigation screen, it will find you Electrify America chargers along your route. We all know that Tesla has their amazing supercharger network, and when you plan a trip, it says you should stop here and here and here and here along the way, and that way you'll make it. So this is trying to do the same thing. But there is a big problem with how that system works. Now, if you watched Jason Finsky's video on his channel, Engineering Explained, he reviewed the ID.4 back in March, and he discovered a problem. The navigation was picking chargers for him along a long route, and the chargers were far below what Electrify America can provide in terms of speed. They have 150 kilowatt chargers in a lot of places, and this car will accept up to 125 kilowatts, which allows it to charge from 5 to 80% in about 30 minutes. But the navigation screen was finding chargers for him that were 7 kilowatt, 30 kilowatt, etc., etc. Why was it doing that? Doesn't make any sense. This is Volkswagen. Volkswagen's a partner with Electrify America. Why wouldn't they find the best chargers for you to use that would allow you to charge the quickest on your trip? Well, he was hoping that they would update the system and that would all get fixed. So last night I got into the car and I plotted a route to Portland, Oregon to see what it did. And boy, howdy, is it still a problem. So I just plotted a route to Portland, Oregon, and the nav here, the native nav system, no Apple CarPlay, that finds chargers along the way for you has done something really strange. So I have 145 miles of range left in the car right now. So the first charger it finds here is in Bakersfield. It's 111 miles away. But as you're gonna see when I cut to the iPhone footage, when I use the Electrify America app, it found a charger that was closer to the highway I have to take. This charging station is quite a ways off the highway. Okay, but let's just say it's about the distance, because the closer one, it was 130 miles. That's pushing things a little bit. All right. The next one here, Greenlots, Elk Grove, 50 kilowatt charger. It's going to take 97 minutes to charge the car. But you'll see when we go back to the Electrify America app footage on my phone, there is another charging station in Elk Grove full of 150 kilowatt chargers. And it's right off the highway. It's right off the main highway that I need to take the whole way up to Oregon, which is Highway 5. And it would only take half an hour or so to charge up. So 97 minutes, or find the 150 kilowatt charger. So why is it showing me the 50 kilowatt chargers instead of showing me the higher output chargers? In Weed, California, there are basically no chargers. I have the Electrify America app set to find 50 kilowatt or above, and it couldn't even find this one. But what's interesting is that the distance between the Elk Grove charger and the Weed charger is nearly the limit of this car in terms of range. What I could do, according to the app, is stop at a city a little further south, hit a 150 charger, go past Weed, California, and then charge at the next 150 kilowatt charger. And then we go to the last one. And this was the strangest yet. This is Junction City. The only charger there is a 30 kilowatt. All right, so my app wouldn't even have found it. Here are the two strange things about this Junction City selection. The first is, let's look at the distance. 619, 881 minus 619 is 262, okay? The EPA says this car has a range of 260 miles. So it's further than the EPA's advertised or certified range for this car. So I might not even make it there. The second strange thing about this destination is this is past Eugene, Oregon, to the northeast. Eugene is a very large city. There's a big university there. It's got a bunch of shopping outlets and whatnot. And it has, guess, ding, 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 150 kilowatt chargers. And it's right on I-5. So this charging station is beyond the limit of what the EPA says this car will go. It's off the beaten path, literally, from where I want to go. And it's going to take almost 3 hours to charge the car. Now, why can't this navigation system, built by Volkswagen, which was a huge part of building the Electrify America network, why is the UI here so strange? Why is it choosing these slow chargers along the way? And at first I thought maybe it's choosing charging stations that are close enough to reach safely, way under the mile limit. But as we've seen from two of these, it's actually pushing it really, really hard. So I don't understand why the nav is choosing these charging stations for a road trip.
So as you've just seen, the navigation is making strange choices for you when compared to what's available on the app in terms of charging stations. That's something that they need to fix because the user interaction is so important. And range is the question that everyone brings up, whether they need to worry about it or not. And if you're trying to bring people into this market from gas cars, you need to make things easy. The people that buy a CR-V or a RAV4, they want a car that is reliable. They want it to be user-friendly. It needs to be an appliance. They're not really interested in speed or sexiness or what can off-road the best. They are buying a car by the numbers and by what makes them feel comfortable. And if they're already hesitant to get into an EV because of the range issues, having a nav system that starts sending them to slow chargers that are out of the way is not going to be the way you get people into EVs. It's probably going to scare them away at the dealership, or it's going to frustrate them a lot, and you're going to see that pop up in Consumer Reports. Now, yes, they can pull up the Electrify America app and find the right charger, but you are adding friction, whereas the Tesla system has a great charger network, and it always finds you a fast charger, and you're not going to have an issue doing that. All right, so we're talking about the charging network. We're going to talk about the competition. Not going to go through every car there is in the world, but the ones I see are primary are the Tesla Model Y, of course, the Mustang Mach-E,
Hyundai Kona to a degree. I know they had a big recall. And then if you want to go gas, again, the RAV4, basically the same size as this car, and it's what this was kind of targeting. Tesla Model Y is faster, has more range, has dual motor. Charging network is the best in the world. User interface on the tablets I have found to be excellent. It is fast, intuitive, looks nice graphically. And even though so many of their controls are hidden in that tablet, I found it easier to use because it's one system. This is two systems. This is a slow screen, touchscreen, and then capacitive buttons that don't always respond when I touch them. So that is just confusing. Maybe it would get better if you own the car for a while, but I don't feel like there should be a learning curve to turning up the heater. The Mach-E, I think it's more interesting looking outside. This is, in this gray, this car is anonymous looking enough that you could lose it in an empty parking lot. The Mach-E starts at $43,000. What you get for that is you get the large tablet, you get the panoramic sunroof. Car's a little bit better looking, in my opinion, and it's faster. You don't get the heated seats. You have to option up for that. So it is going to be a more expensive car overall. You just have to choose what's more important to you. The Kona looks a lot like this one, in my opinion. It's kind of this rounded egg. It has hard buttons for radio and HVAC, which is good, but Hyundai has had some problems with their EVs recently. So I think I would pay a lot of attention to that in the news before I bought one of those. And then the RAV4. The RAV4 is 1,000 pounds lighter if you get it with a gas engine. It starts at $26,000. I went on their configurator and built one to have similar features to this, and it was $32,000. Which brings us to the federal tax credit. If you buy this car or a number of other EVs, you're going to get a federal tax credit for $7,500. Now, we need to be clear. That is not the government sending you $7,500. What that is if at the end of the year you owe $7,500 or more on your taxes, they will take $7,500 off of your bill. But if you owe them $5,000 or $1,000 or $0, you will not get the leftover money. So if you owe them $2,000, they'll take the $2,000 off, but they're not going to send you $5,500. Okay, so that's very important to know. And if you're buying a Tesla, you no longer get that tax credit. They've used all their credits up. Lastly, I wanted to complain about the color options for this car because the Pro only gets black, white, gray, and gray as an option. And if you go to the Pro S, you can get a blue. And I thought that was lame, but I look around and I see gray, black, black, gray, white, black, white, gray. 8 cars, whatever that was, and they're all on the grayscale. So I think Volkswagen knows that people are not buying colorful cars most of the time. So shame on all of us. If you want to dip your toe into the EV landscape as cheaply as possible, you can get a base ID.4, and with the tax credit, it's like $33,000. But I just feel like, for me, the problems that these buttons and screen and nav are going to cause is going to be too frustrating for me to want to deal with. I would advise you to spend a few $1,000s more and get a base Mach-E. So thank you to Volkswagen for providing this car. I hope it evolves as we go forward, because I think EVs are a great way to get around. I just think this one could be a little better. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.
And remember, always fight your tickets. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app, available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.